all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, never the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
And welcome everyone, excuse me, to this episode, this finals edition of Real Talk. We got a lot of finals things to get into. We got some basketball stuff. We got some boxing stuff. We got a lot to get into. But first, I want to touch base with my guys, Kenny and Dev. How y'all doing?
Good, man.
I'm doing good, man. How you feeling, Doug?
Pretty good. Went to a concert yesterday, Coldplay. If you haven't been, it was amazing. Did her thing on all instruments. Really good time. And then tonight we get to get basketball. We got Steph, we got Clay, we got Tatum, we got Brown, we got Smart, we got Poole. For some, we even got Looney. I think we got Iggy, Robert Williams. I think everybody from what I last saw is good to go. GP2 is back doing drop step dunks. I don't know why a 6'1" guard would ever need to do a drop step dunk, but he can do it. So we can jump right into it so we can get through some of these topics. There's a lot to get to. I think we'll have some discussion if past conversations are any indication of people's opinions on today. So we got to start with the finals prediction. Given the health, given the rest, given the coaching, given experience, I got to ask, who y'all got and how many? And Dev, I'll start with you.
All right. As we all know, I was on the Boston bandwagon in the Eastern Conference. I'm going ahead and safe to say I hit that little exit button.
Ooh.
I had left Boston bandwagon, and I am riding with Golden State. And I think Golden State will win it in 6. More than likely because I think they got more experience. They got stars. You know what I mean? They just don't. They have a superstar and they have stars, in my opinion. And Steph is the superstar. Then you got Clay to back him up. And if Andrew Wiggins is, as I've been preaching to y'all in these last couple episodes, if Andrew Wiggins can give me the Andrew Wiggins of the Western Conference Finals, the Boston Celtics going to have a hard time. But it's a good kind of even match, you know. Wiggins can guard either Brown or Tatum. You got my man Jordan Poole can probably guard Smart. You know, probably can't be as physical because Smart can draw fouls. But they pretty much Golden State got all the answers for Boston, in my opinion. And like I said, they have a star. They don't have nobody, you know, to kind of will. I mean, they have somebody that can will them to a dub, in my opinion.
Okay. Kenny?
Unlike Devin, I'm not leaving the Celtics train. I'm riding it all the way out. I got the Celtics winning in 6. I think one of the biggest things for me is the reason why I like the Celtics is that they've been really battle tested in these playoffs. They've had to deal with adversity in these last 2 rounds. They kind of almost had to, you know, they've been knocked to the deck and then climbed off the deck and recovered, you know, winning a game 7 on the road, losing game 5 at home, and then going to Milwaukee and winning a game 6. Like, those are things that really, you know, test the team's fabric and test the team's makeup. And I just don't think that Golden State has had that same type of, they've kind of had an easy run. They really haven't dealt with any adversity, and they've kind of been able to play their style. They've kind of been able to, you know, be real loose and free. And I don't think they're going to be able to do that against Boston. Boston is going to be physical with them. Boston is going to, give them everything that they can handle defensively. They're not going to just be able to execute their stuff free and clear. So I just think that the rough, rugged nature of the Celtics, the mental toughness that they've developed over this playoff stretch, I think that that's going to lead them and that's going to carry them all the way through. And I just think that they're going to wind up winning in 6. So I got the Celtics winning in 6.
Okay, we got the Celtics in 6. We got the Warriors in 6. And just to let the audience know, unless you're living under a rock, the game has started. Tatum came out with a jumper, was short. Wiggins took a 3 that was short and contested. Tatum got an air ball just now. So nerves, understandably, some nerves going on. I think this is one of those crazy things because I think it was Kenny that mentioned kind of what Boston has been going through. So on one hand, I agree. Steph just shot a 3 that was short, shot another one, and he hits it. Steph with the first basket of the finals, 3-pointer, Golden State's up 3-0. I agree that Boston's road has been tougher. But I would also say they played an injured Tyler Hero. They played a Bucks team without Middleton. And they also played a Brooklyn team that was just in disarray and without Ben Simmons and some other parts and pieces. So it's hard to really judge what Boston's done because on some levels they've overachieved. But then they had game 6. They had all the momentum going into game 6 against Miami. And they just didn't show up, and they let Jimmy Butler go off. And so if you can let Jimmy Butler go off, no disrespect to Jimmy Butler, but Steph and Clay can shoot the ball exponentially better. I think rebounding is going to be really important. The Warriors through these playoffs have surprisingly out-rebounded everyone, even when they were, better rebounding teams. And I don't know that Golden State has faced this kind of threat from a two-headed monster. They've faced Jokic, they faced Luka, but they haven't had 2 guys that can really go get it once Ja went out in the Memphis series. We didn't really get to see that. Tatum has definitely come out shooting, and he's tied the game with a 3. So he's not being bashful at all. So I'm really excited about this matchup. Unlike Dev, I am riding with the Celtics. I said it before.
Hey, I go solo dolo.
I'm gonna stick with it. I think on paper the Warriors should win, but I just think this Boston team is gritty. I think this Boston team is going to be tough, and they're just going to figure it out. I will be very curious to see how each team performs with late game execution because there's a bunch of guys that are going to want the ball in their hands. And we watched Marcus Smart almost shoot the Celtics out of the NBA Finals. So when push comes to shove, I think that's going to be interesting. The bench matchups, I think that's where the Warriors are going to lose a lot of their experience because much of their bench is not tested. Assuming Iguodala doesn't play significant minutes. GP3, Jordan Poole, Kuminga, Moody, I forget the other lights.
Damian Lee.
Damian Lee, that's what I was thinking about. Their experience isn't nearly as long as the starting 5. So that in some ways,
but also Boston bench is not really, that deep. Also, so the bench kind of play kind of even. Cause like I said, Jordan Poole come off the bench, then you got Dirk White to come off the bench. But then after those 2, really, who can say is consistent? You maybe Kuminga. It depends on how the game flowing. If Golden State got the upper hand, maybe Kuminga can, play a different game versus if the Warriors is down, Kuminga, you can, but it depends on Kuminga to be your number 1 scorer, in that nature. So, it's evenly matched. This ain't gonna be like no sweep, unless something drastic happen on one of these stars, get hurt or something in that nature, God forbid. But it's a great match.
No, I definitely agree with that. And to that point, great defense by Robert Williams there. I think, or maybe they called a foul. I'm not sure. But to that point, right now we're seeing pretty good execution. People are shooting relatively well. Marcus Smart has come out shooting; he's hit. So the Steph Marcus Smart matchup, I think, is going to be interesting to see. It looks like Golden State has been content. Wow, that was a good offensive play. Has been content to let Looney guard Tatum a couple times on the perimeter. So we'll see if that holds true or if Tatum can take advantage of that matchup.
That's what Tatum need to be aggressive. Sometimes Tatum be a little shy on those type of matchups. He'll just go ahead and just shoot it sometimes.
Yeah, and then to your point, literally as you were talking, he attacked the basket on Steph and drew a foul. I'm not sure who the foul was on, but so far pretty good execution. I think this is going to be a highly skilled. We're not seeing a bunch of rust just yet. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come for sure. Mike Hughes in the building talking about Clay. I think the Facebook post. That would be an upset. If Golden State wins this finals and Steph does not get another finals MVP, it better be clear. It better be clear cut. I tell you that. They better not rob that light skin.
Oh, that means Clay better come out averaging 40.
Yeah, he got to. He got to be Clay all throughout the series. You can't just have one big game.
And we've seen that a lot where he's had 2 games in the series, but for 3 to 4, he might not really be it. So. Interesting to see. Golden State with 5 assists on 12 points. Boston with 3 assists on 9. So you see that they are moving the ball. Some good team effort. Andrew Wiggins, Dev, to your point, he's playing aggressive right now. He's attacking the basket. He's shooting the ball.
He has. Like I say, he's been the X factor for the Warriors all season.
Yeah. So I'm liking what I'm seeing. Horford just knocked down a 3. So should be a good one. Steph with the pull up. And he hits it. We are off in the run.
And that's another piece to it as well, is that defensively for Golden State, Draymond is not going to be able to help. He's not going to be able to, be that center fielder, to be that quarterback on the back line, because he's going to have to start. He's going to have to close out to Al Horford. So he's going to hurt them from 3. So that's going to be an adjustment that they're going to have to make, and those guys are going to have to really contain the dribble penetration of Tatum and Jaylen Brown, as well as Marcus Smart, because they're not going to be able to get help from Draymond.
And we are seeing, even with Draymond being pulled away from the basket, Boston got a couple offensive rebounds here early, even on some of the longer shots. So
and the oop.
And the oop. So we're definitely seeing a lot of things we've been talking about playing out. That's a shot I can live with. If Draymond hits it, he missed the 3. It should be exciting. But that leads me to the next point. We've talked about the bench. We talked about the starters. But I think we have a very unique coaching matchup. And some information has come out about Marcus Smart explaining how Udoka has motivated him and telling him basically being very direct and get your head in the game. So when you kind of look at the numbers, the experience screams Golden State's superior in coaching. But we always know that experience doesn't mean everything. So far from what you've seen in these playoffs, who do you believe has the coaching advantage here in the finals? And I'll start with you, Kenny.
I mean, on paper, you would say that the advantage will go to Steve Kerr, but I don't think it's that great of an advantage, because we got to remember with Udoka is not only has he been a long-time assistant, but he was also a player. So he has finals experience as a player. So I think that kind of, narrows the gap a little bit. And then we've seen as well the other part, and what I, alluded to earlier, in terms of him being able to get tough road wins with his team, like going into tough environments and going into situations where you're not expected to win and pulling out tough road wins. That's the sign of a really good coach. And just the fact that, the other part that you talked about, that how he holds them accountable, how he's direct with them, how he lets them know, like, if you're messing up, like, yo, what you doing? I love the quote that I saw of Marcus Smart. He's like, yo, this is your team. y'all out here looking crazy. Yo, get it together. I'm paraphrasing because there was some other language in there that we can't use.
Yeah.
But the point of the matter is that he holds those guys accountable, and they know that they have to, they have to play to a certain standard, or else they're going to hear about it. And I think that we saw, like, we've seen that in terms of them being able to change the way that they played in one season, because, early on in the season, there was questions about whether or not, if this was a good fit, well, the ball wasn't moving the way it should have, this, that, and the third, questioning Jaylen Brown, questioning Tatum, does that combination not work? And they were able to turn that around and be able to turn that team into a dangerous team, a sound defensive team, and a great defensive team. So I think all that credit goes to Ime Udoka. So I just think that while there is an advantage to Steve Kerr in terms of experience, in terms of resume, I don't think it's that. It's not that great of a gap.
I'm glad you mentioned that, and I did want to, Kenny, kind of follow up to that. You look at both teams' benches. You got Grant Williams and you got Jordan Poole. Who do you believe is going to play a bigger role in relation to the coaching matchups and in relation to the series?
I think, I think Jordan Poole is going to play a bigger role, because I'm not sure. I think they're going to need some offensive firepower coming off the bench, because I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get a consistent 20 points every night out of either Andrew Wiggins or Klay Thompson. So they're going to have to find some scoring from some other places. So they kind of have to piecemeal it, I think. And so that's where Jordan Poole comes in. So I think his scoring off the bench is going to be really important, because I think there's going to be some times where Golden State's offense kind of lags and kind of, goes through some struggles for some possessions. So I think he's going to come in. They're going to need his firepower off the bench. So I think he's going to be a little more important, because I'm not sure in terms of matchup how Grant Williams. I think he might struggle a little bit, because those guys on the perimeter are really shifty or really quick. I don't know if his physicality is going to be able to translate against those guys, those slasher type guys that Golden State Warriors has. So I'm not sure how much of a factor he's going to be. I think Jordan Poole is going to be more of a factor.
Okay. Speaking of which, Poole and Williams are in the game. We got our first round of subs. Derek White is also subbed in to the game. Steph's come out early with 11 of Golden State's 20. Looks really good. Hit another one. He looks to be in the zone. We might be on history watch early with Steph 3.
Steph heard all that talk about Marcus Smart and him shooting 29%, and he was a primary defender. He saw it.
No, I'm with you. And I was one that thought it could be heck of a defensive play by Jaylen Brown on Kevon Looney in transition. I was curious to see and then Jaylen Brown gets the dunk. I was curious to see how that matchup would go, how Steph would come out, and clearly he's come out aggressive, and he's coming out shooting well. I saw pregame hype that Steph wasn't missing, and we all know that doesn't always translate, but in this instance, it appears to be so. Jaylen Brown with a three to follow up an air ball to follow up his dunk. But Dev, I wanted to get your thoughts on the coaching matchup. Who do you think has the edge from a coaching standpoint?
Honestly, you would give it to Kerr only because he has championships underneath his belt, but Udoka is not that far. It's about like if Udoka can win this championship, you can put him in the conversation as one of the best coaches in the league now. But you can just give it to Kerr by just a little notch. But like Kenny said, Udoka did one hell of a transition, one hell of a turnaround for the Boston Celtics, because the Celtics was in like the 11th spot in the beginning of the season, and like by the All-Star game, these guys was in the top 5. So he did a one hell of a transformation and made that team real competitive and real, ready to compete every night. And they did it by the defensive change. Once they changed their philosophy on defense and was able to lock them down, that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown combo came natural now because it's no longer trying to force it like, look, we got to score, so it's your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. It's became, all right, Tatum, you're gonna get your 20 some odd shots up, but just know that when you get cold or you go on the bench before me, I'm gonna get my points up now, and so that gives Boston that edge a little bit. But to answer your question, I give it to Steve Kerr, but it's not by far.
Okay. And I'll ask you the same thing, but a little bit differently. Obviously, each team has a number of bench players. Who do you think will play the biggest role off the bench for either team?
It's going to be Jordan Poole, because only for the fact that Grant Williams can play defense. He can shoot the three, but Grant Williams also get into a lot of foul trouble. Derek White, he can score, but at times he can kind of disappear on you a little bit. He ain't your dominant. You're not looking for him to score really. Off the bench. If he can give you a couple buckets, it's great for your team. So I think it's going to have to be Jordan Poole. He plays a bigger role, in my opinion, than all the other guys on Boston side. And if he looking to be the third splash brother, as everybody keep trying to call him, he's going to have to play. He's going to have to step up. He's going to have to score at least 17 plus a game. To have the Warriors be competitive.
So you said, kind of alluded to the same thing Kenny said, and I'm going to push back on that. First, I want to address Steph missed another free throw here in the finals, which is not a good sign. He's just been struggling here in the playoffs. But for some of the reasons you guys said is exactly why I think Grant Williams is going to be the X factor. We've seen the Warriors win with Jordan Poole scoring in single digits. We've seen the Warriors win when Jordan Poole doesn't play necessarily well because you got more offensive firepower on their bench. I think if you don't get a good game from Grant Williams, you're going to need Tatum and Brown to go for like 30 apiece. He's that guy that'll give you those hidden 15 to 17 points if he hits 3 or 4 shots from 3, which will significantly open up the floor. And he's a big body that can bang and, just over the series, I think wear down maybe Steph or Clay. As Clay he moves around, but he's not as shifty as Steph. I think Grant Williams can be a role there. I think he could play against a Wiggins, a Draymond. I think you can not hide him, but there are people he can guard, I believe, in this series.
But if you put him on Draymond, in my opinion, I think Draymond can get him in foul trouble also.
Nah, you know what I mean? Draymond the ball.
Because to me, Draymond is the point. He's really the point guard on this team. Like, he facilitates the offense. So you don't really. I think you can hide him on Draymond because you just got to keep him. You just got to keep Draymond in front of you and then keep him off the boards. So I think that
sometimes Grant Williams be swatting for the ball for. You know what I mean? He like to reach a lot.
I understand.
He get a lot of reaching fouls, in my opinion.
He does. I'm just saying. I think that's the best place to hide him is guarding Draymond, as opposed to him trying to guard Wiggins or Clay, because one, Clay is going to be moving around, so you got to chase him around screens, which I don't think that's his strength. So you got to stay attached to Clay, and stay on his hip and trail him on screens and things of that nature. So I don't think that's his strength. And then Wiggins, he's shifty. He could put it on the deck and get to the basket. So while he could probably use his physicality in a sense, but I'm not sure if quickness-wise if he'll be able to stay with Wiggins.
Well, what if they do pick and roll with Green? Do you switch or do you just hedge? And try to get to other men? Say it again.
Boston switches.
Yeah.
So that means now, if you run the pick with Steph now, he's now guarding Steph now, which that kind of puts him back on the island. So that's why I was saying I don't think you want to put him on Draymond, because all they're going to try to do is now do pick and pop or try to do pick and roll, at least to get that switch. You know what I mean? And now he gets back into foul trouble back into that area of foul trouble. So I think, a better Clay or maybe Looney a little bit, because Looney only really setting screen.
Right. I feel like when you have Looney on the floor, Grant Williams can guard any of them because he just has to play without fouling, and that's a coaching thing. But I'm just funneling them to Horford or Williams in the middle. So I'm not going to let you shoot the three. I don't have to stop you. You can get by me, but you're going to have to finish at the rim. And I don't think Golden State has really faced that either. Memphis didn't really provide the interior defense we thought. Definitely not Dallas. And Jokic has never been known as a defender in his life. So I think that'll be different. And I think we've seen that whether it be Kevin Durant, whether it be Giannis, they could get to the basket. The issue is finishing at the basket. And I think that's where, even with whether it be Derek White or any of those, you don't have to lock down Steph, Clay, or any of those perimeter guys. Just funnel them to the inside. One, it's a two-pointer versus a three-pointer, and that's where your defensive help is. So I think they'll be fine in that. And to Kenny, I think he said it earlier, I might roll the dice and see, can Clay beat me 3 games in this series? Now, I know he can probably give me one, but can he consistently hit those mid-range shots? And we'll find out kind of how that goes. So that to me is why I think, just because the Warriors have way more depth offensively, you can survive a bad Jordan Poole game. I don't know if
is that Iggy on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
That is Andre Iguodala on the floor and another Steph 3. I will tell you, if he keeps shooting like this is going to be a quick series. So
but like you always alluded to, it's a possibility. Golden State can give you that one game that they having a bad shooting night, and Boston with the 2 stars can kind of capitalize that what Luka and Ja and them couldn't do.
So my caveat to that is, right now, the reason I said that also, not just that they're hitting shots, Draymond for 3 misses, so we can live with that. Is the fact that Steph's looks are wide open. Like of the 5 of the 6 shots he's taken from 3, most of them have been uncontested, whether it be in transition or just in rotation. And those are the ones you don't want to give Steph. Derek White answers back. Go ahead.
But those are going to be the communication issues, because like the Golden State is really known for their split action. So they like to run that split action where one guy slips to the basket and the other guy's either going to fade or he's going to come to the ball. So they're just going to have to communicate on those actions. And once they figure that part out, then they'll be okay. I'm sure, this is the first game jitters. So I'm sure some of the stuff is from the game plan kind of went in one ear and one out the other because of first game jitters. But they'll fix that.
It might get fixed in the second half.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because it's just reiterating some things that I'm sure that were talked about in the pregame. Because if it was one thing that that's one thing that Golden State is going to do. They're going to run that split action. One guy's going to slip to the basket, and the other guy's going to either fade or he's going to come off that fake screen and going to wind up. And what happens is that the 2 guys don't communicate and they don't determine who's going to take the cutter and who's going to take the popper. So that's what just happened just now with that 3 that Steph got open. So they'll fix that. They'll make that adjustment and they'll figure that part out. So,
all right, we will definitely look to see it. Jason Tatum makes his free throw on the and one. Iggy was on the ground as soon as he got back in the game.
Father time, man. It don't take much.
It does not. Draymond.
No, he said it's like he got need in the downstairs, man.
Oh, well, that's anybody. That's gonna take anybody.
Yeah, there ain't no Father time. That can happen anytime.
Yeah, you're right about that.
And just for an update, Draymond is currently 0-5. So I don't know how many people had Draymond taking 5 shots in the first quarter, but 0-5 is going to need.
How many people really thought Draymond was going to take 5 shots in the game?
Well, that's your defensive game plan. If you're a team, is that you want Draymond, you're going to give Draymond as many open looks as you want. You can have every open look that you want. We're going to make you be an offensive player. You're not going to be able to just run these dribble handoffs and run these actions and try to get the ball out of your hands. We're going to make you an offensive weapon.
So I'm just going to get kind of a quick reaction from you guys. Steph gave 21 currently in the first quarter. It looks like he's going to end with 21 on 6 of 8, but Golden State's up 4. So who feels better going into the second quarter? And he just wasted a 3 that brought his percentage down at the end of the quarter. But if you're Golden State right now and you're up 4 with the way Steph's playing, are you happy? Or with the way Steph's playing to be down 4 Boston, are you more happy? I'll start with you, Kenny.
I'm happy if I'm Boston. To me, that says that we took their first punch. You know, they hit hard. They hit us hard already. They hit us with their best shot in this first quarter, and we're still standing. We're only down 4 points. So if I'm Coach Udoka, I'm like, look, this is not going to continue. He's not going to stay this hot, and we're only down 4 points. So eventually, he's going to slow down, and so that gives us a chance to get. We're right here in this game. So if I'm Boston, I'm feeling a lot better about myself.
Dev?
Yeah, I agree with Kenny. You know, I mean, you let Steph score 21, and then you just gotta hope that Clay or nobody else starts scoring just like that. So, you know, I mean, if I'm with you, if Steph going this crazy and we down 4, let's gather ourselves. Let's go drink that Boston water that got us healthy, and let's get back out there.
Yeah, I agree. I think coming the first 3 minutes of this second quarter is going to be important. I believe Steph will go to the bench, and so we'll see what happens to this 4-point lead if they're able to extend it or cut into it. And then obviously the third quarter. Well, we all know what Golden State does there. So to your point about the adjustments, we'll really see what adjustments they make coming out of the half, because whatever they did in the first quarter with Steph didn't work. Now it might be, hey, let Steph, and the rest contain the rest. But
if that's the case, then your game plan is working.
It is, as long as they keep shooting poorly.
But now you got to make sure that you scoring with them. You know what I mean? Even though it might be 2, you got to make sure you scoring. You can't just leave 2 or 3 possessions open on the floor.
That's spurtability.
So yeah, no, definitely. And Steph set her finals record in the quarter with the 6-3. So a fitting record for him to have.
You called it.
So a historic night already, and we got a lot more to go. But in slightly off the court news, but basketball news nonetheless, according to Forbes, and I don't know exactly how these things work. I've heard you got to pay to be on the list. I heard there's a bunch of nuances, but regardless, LeBron James, the first active NBA athlete as a billionaire. I don't even know what it would look like to wake up with an account or have assets with that many zeros. But a man, he's not even 40, still playing at an extremely high level, 1/3 team All NBA. So by all accounts, he'll definitely be back next year and probably the year after that. What does this mean? When we talk about an upcoming CBA, we've talked about owners trying to take some stuff back from maybe the power the players got in forcing trades. Obviously, the contracts are a part of it. And that has been a part of what has helped LeBron. Obviously, he's done a ton off the court as well. But is this one? Obviously, it's great news for LeBron. But as we head into the next CBA, as we look around the landscape of, I think Jokic is about to sign a 5-year, $250-something million max. The Lakers are straddled with Russ's 47. The Rockets can't really move John Wall. Like, the direction of contracts and money, what does that mean for the future of the NBA with now LeBron being cemented in this? And obviously the owners see it, but the players see it also. I'll start with you, Kenny.
Well, first salute to him for reaching that milestone. We've just seen him really just make history from the time he's been 18 years old. So it's just a salute and a credit to him that he's been able to do this and also do it in a way without any scandal, without any controversy, in terms of off the court or anything like that. He's been a family man. And and all that good stuff. So salute to him on that. But in terms of the contracts, I don't think that there's much that the owners are going to be able to do. I think the only thing that they're going to be able to adjust is this, maybe the load management situation as to maybe only doing it at home, where they're only load managing at home and not doing it on the road, things of that nature. But the money, I don't think that as long as the players are able to look at their revenues and how much money that they're making on these TV deals and all this money that they're making, in terms of arenas and concession and local TV deals and all the other stuff, licensing, sponsorship, the whole 9 yards. As long as they're making that money, the players are going to get a piece of that pie. So I don't know if there's much that they could do. And they're always going to be guaranteed contracts. That's not going away. Their players are never going to concede on that. So I don't know that there's much that they can do. But it's credit to LeBron and also this whole player empowerment thing. He's the face of it. So it's a credit to him. And I don't, while the owners may not like it, they're going to have to deal with it.
Okay. Dev?
Yeah, man. Shout out to him, man. That's like you said, Ray. I would love to see that much money or assets in my bank account in the morning just to stretch out of bed and like, dang. Yep, I got it today, y'all. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but I got it, But shout out to him, and I think that's great for the league. For an athlete to reach that that status, that opens up the door for the next up and coming athlete that's coming up in the league. Whether they in the league now or a couple years away, or whoever the next phenom player could possibly be. But like Kenny said, I don't think the owners can really do nothing as long as they keep getting these TV deals and these large revenue, and you see how the NBA revenue goes up tremendously each year. So as long as they keep getting money rules all evil. So and these players is out here putting it out there. You see what who was it? Kyrie making a statement about them and1 players saying how we train and all this other stuff. We play games when we kind of don't want to feel like playing games and stuff like that. So the players gonna keep on getting that piece of the pie. And long as the players keep being out here and getting these big deals for these owners can't really say nothing.
Yeah, I hear you. Just quick point. Clay currently is sitting at 2 of 6. So it hasn't been the hottest start for him. Golden State is up 44-37. This is exceptional shooting that we're watching on both sides. I keep saying it's going to slow down, but these guys had a lot of rest. So Otto Porter's hit 2, Derek White's hit a couple, Marcus Smart hit a couple. So the coaches had them ready to play. I think we can all agree to that so far. I do agree. First, like Kenny, to your point, shout out to LeBron. He just continues to shatter the mold. You said 18. I would argue since 16. Like, he's been just continuing to overachieve, overcome. And to your point, I think, which is understated, especially in the world today, with no real drama. His group of friends didn't break apart, where somebody felt jilted or outed and started snitching and letting stuff out. Whatever's happened in his household, we don't know about it. He's raised some kids. When the biggest controversy that can come up about your family is your son taking a white girl to prom, like, you're doing a lot right.
Doing it right.
That got swept underneath the rug like it was nothing, boy.
But
you see the pictures, and then the pictures just disappeared.
There's the power in that.
One thing we know LeBron know how to shape a narrative.
Yeah, he's gonna do that. But even in that, like, I don't want to assume here, but I looked up some statistics. The amount of Black women at the school is not very high. So,
no choice, huh?
Yeah, He had much to choose from.
Yeah, it wasn't like there was a whole lot of options. Sierra Canyon's like one of the elite of the elite. And so in your grade, you're going to be limited. So I don't know, man. Like, it's just, it is what it is. But no, I think, Dev, to your point, I think it's one of those things where it's kind of like a runaway train. And I don't know what the owners can do. I don't know that the owners are necessarily happy. I don't know how upset they are. I think what you start to concern yourself with, if you get enough of these, say the Banana Boat crew, D-Wade already has part ownership in Utah. LeBron got his money. Chris Paul's made a bunch of money. Melo's made a bunch of money. That potentially becomes a group. And there's talks of Portland. Phil Knight in Portland has come out and since said they're not for sale.
Well, you can bring Seattle back. They've been trying to bring Seattle back.
And I was about to say that the word is that they're going to be two. That Seattle and Vegas are going to be the next two expansion franchises. So who knows? We could have, it could be a situation where we see ownership group of some players that put their, pool in resources together and make a play for a team.
And LeBron was just in Liverpool, where he's part owner. From what I understand, the Nationals are now up for sale. I don't know where that came from. But even if it's not in basketball, when you start giving players that are unionized that kind of power, whether it be in your sport or in other sports, the idea of minority ownership is a big deal in all sports. And the NFL may get out of it. Has Denver finalized the group they went with yet? The Broncos?
No, I don't think so.
So if, the group, doesn't go Robert Smith's way, he's clearly interested. And so if you start to see three or four even franchises being run by minorities, I think that's a huge step. We saw it.
Look what Jay-Z did with Brooklyn.
Yeah, I have my own issue.
He had a little piece. He didn't really have much of it.
Like Shaq was.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, at least he was like the face. And they were like, hey, we gonna put you the face of it so everybody can, love you, everybody come back to Brooklyn, I'm pretty sure he was a puppet a little bit on that.
Speaking of Jay-Z, he's courtside.
Yeah, just talked him up.
Yeah. But no, I agree. I think that becomes where it starts to get tricky for these owners. And this huge cultural shift to minority ownership. You keep giving minorities enough money, they're gonna want to sit at the table. And the scraps you used to offer are no longer good enough. I know I touched on it before, but I said the first 4 minutes of the second quarter I thought would be big, and Golden State has extended the lead with Steph sitting. I thought that was an opportunity for Boston to come back with their starters, and they only started the second quarter really with Jason Tatum. And now Pritchard is on that. You think that's a charge?
Yeah,
they got Jaylen Brown on the floor too, right?
I thought he beat him to the spot.
Nah. Well, we disagree. And I'm not saying they're the penalty. No, they're just taking the ball out. So that's terrible for the penalty already.
That's real terrible.
But no, at the end of the day, shout out to LeBron and all that he's doing. That's huge. Jordan Poole has not looked great, the turnover there, but it's still early. So we will definitely see. And Derek White did come from San Antonio, so he has that pedigree in him, even if he wasn't there that long. But that brings me to our next question. So obviously, Steph had a huge Under Armour deal. He signed some years ago. Clay hits a 3, pushed it to 10. Steph has – I've seen more and more videos of how Steph has ruined basketball with people getting steals and pulling up on fast breaks from 3, amongst other things. But obviously, LeBron, global impact, I promise – all of the different things he's done for, social justice rights. With all that being said, if you had to stand from a distance today, who's had a bigger impact on basketball? I know people are considering Steph passing LeBron, or one person wrote an article about it as far as basketball. But if we're talking basketball impact, who would you say has had a bigger impact on basketball, Steph or LeBron? I'll start with you, Devin.
I say LeBron. You know, I say LeBron. LeBron had a bigger impact. Now, don't get me wrong. You know, Steph, we can say revolutionized the game. You know, he kind of changed it a little bit, but LeBron had an impact because LeBron had this hype since he was 18. You know what I mean? Or probably before this 18, you know, while he was in high school. You know, they was giving him the king and you gonna be this and you greatness and this, and he had to live up to that hype. And he been living up to that hype for like the last 19 years in the league. 19 years in the league. So um but like we just said, for him to be, I guess, clean, you know what I mean? The guy that ain't getting to no trouble, the guy that does, he respects the game, you know what I mean? The guy that puts his body, all this money into his body to make sure he can give you the best of LeBron, no matter what is he doing, you know what I mean? LeBron most definitely had a big impact in the game. I'm not saying Steph didn't have no little flurries into it, while LeBron was still having the impact. But remember, it was once upon a time when we couldn't get LeBron out the finals. It was just always LeBron, no matter what team he was on. At one point, he was in the final. So I get a nod to LeBron still.
Okay. Kenny?
Yeah, I think it depends on what your criteria is for the impact. So if we're talking about like in terms of impacting the overall game and what they individually brought to it, you probably would say LeBron. But I think if your criteria is in terms of shooting and in terms of changing how the game is played, then you're gonna pick Curry because he basically empowered this whole analytics movement. If you think about it, like he's basically the face of this whole analytics movement. The three ball is basically becomes a major part of the game because of him. I think he's had a major impact on it in terms of how the game is played that way. Like Ray, how you was talking about where guys pull up for threes on the fast break when you never did that before. And that didn't start until Steph started doing that. So I think that he's the face of it in terms of having that impact or that change on the league. But I think to Devin's point, I think LeBron had a greater overall impact on the game just because of how he played the game. I think offensively, you can give it to Steph, but then when you talk about how LeBron, both offensively, defensively, passing, shooting, passing, playmaking and all of that. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, guarding five position. When he was in his heyday, he was guarding all five. He was able to guard all five positions. I think if you're talking about it on that from that perspective, then it would be LeBron. But if you want to talk about changing the game and changing how the game is played, then you're going to go with Curry. But for me, it's LeBron.
So I look at it similar to you, Kenny, but different. So I look at on the court versus off the court. I think if I'm looking on the court, I think it's Steph, and I think it's hands down. I would argue Steph has influenced LeBron. LeBron shot a career high in threes this year. Part of that is age. But I remember, and D'Antoni is in running to be the Hornets coach, which I think could be great for LaMelo Ball. Just from his development, I don't know if the team will be a winner, but
his numbers would be great. I don't know about anybody else's.
Yeah. But you see, it was a rumor they was talking about trading a couple of their players away for
and not signing Miles Bridges, which would be crazy to me.
It was Miles Bridges, PJ Washington, and somebody else. I forgot who the trade they were trying the rumor for the trade for.
Oh, okay. Well, if we get that, definitely let us know. I did not see that part. But my Marcus Smart with another three.
Got fouled too.
to cut it down to 4. But no, I think the on the court part is just, when I think on the court, I think not just in the NBA. Like, I think globally that impact, and I forget who wrote the article recently, but it's one of those international impacts that Steph's had. And I just don't see that. I think LeBron's game is Magic's game. I don't think it was an innovative game per se. But he's just done it at an extremely high level for a really long time. Off the court, I don't think it's close either, though, because when you talk about the player empowerment, you talk about the contracts, you talk about the money spent on health and resources and things like that. You talk about going to South Beach and controlling the narratives and all of those things. And you talk about the Spring Hill production companies and, KD and others who followed, and Draymond in the shop and all of that. I think it's obviously LeBron. So I guess it depends on which one you weigh more. Boston's currently on an 8-0 run as Steph has come back, and Steph's short. So maybe we're starting to see, he sat a little bit. Maybe he'll cool off a bit there in Boston. Boston is right there. And now we got a tie game. So, yeah, I think it depends on which one you pick and choose, which is more valuable. I think, obviously, the game needed both. I'm not going to call them Magic and Bird, but I think they both had and offered significant change to the game that was needed for it to go to the next level. And that's why we're seeing, the Jokic's and the Giannis's and the others getting these absurd deals, is because of the Currys and the LeBrons and their impact. You got to have the global reach, but then you got to have the mindset at the negotiation table. And Chris Paul has also been integral in that, but he hasn't done it at the level because of his performance that LeBron has. So definitely shout out to both of those gentlemen. And that neither one is done. So we look forward to more there. But in the spirit of being done, there hasn't been a great news story to come out of Brooklyn since the season ended. If you're a Brooklyn Nets fan. So the question's clear. Where are Kyrie and KD next year? I'll start with you, Kenny.
Oh, they're in Brooklyn. Like I said before, I think this is a whole lot to do about nothing. It's a lot of posturing, a lot of talking going on. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, they hitched their wagon to Kyrie and KD when they signed it. They knew that's what that's the reason why they came, so that they could play together, and they're going to be there so they could play together. And so if they want to continue to be, they want to be a contender, if they want to continue to be, compete at a high level in the Eastern Conference and in the NBA, they're going to be together. So I don't think that anything changes. I think that now I will say that they may not, I think Kyrie will wind up opting into this year, and they're going to want to make sure that he's going to be committed to the team for the season before they offer him a long-term contract. But I don't think that they break up or they don't do anything changes. They may tweak the roster, whatever the case may be, but it's still going to be KD and Kyrie together in Brooklyn.
Okay. Dev, what do you think?
I'm still kind of in the smoke. I don't know yet. If this drama really is drama, then I really don't know. Because like what Kenny said, if Brooklyn not trying to give out that big deal, and Kyrie's not looking, trying to play no 1-year deal or anything in that nature, and if Kyrie leave, then KD, you kind of forcing KD hand in. And now, KD kind of came out and say, if Kyrie not gonna be here, I kind of don't want to be here. So you kind of forcing Brooklyn into signing, like, look, we got to sign the Kyrie in order to keep the package deal. And to Kenny's point, you got to kind of see what Kyrie head at now. Is you fully committed to the team, or are you going to be available? If COVID so happen to pick back up, then what? What Kyrie are we going to get? We're going to get the away Kyrie, or you know you're gonna get vaccinated. You know, anything in that nature is it's like a lot to weigh in. You know, if these rumors are true, but right now I just don't see anything right now where they're gonna be at. I think it gotta be some things that gotta be cleared up if these rumors are true.
I think Brooklyn is playing a real dangerous game. I think we've seen it in Philly. I think we've seen it. Where else do we see it? It's Philly and somewhere else I had on the top of my head and I couldn't remember. But Kyrie's Kyrie. I think by now you should know who you're getting. And if your contingency on giving him the long-term deal is that he'll be there for the team, I think you've already missed it if that's your approach with him. Because you're pushing him into a corner where the decision he felt was best for him and his family, you're saying is a bad teammate. And I don't believe Kyrie is positioned in such a way that he's going to receive that well. Oh, in Golden State at the parade. When you, quote unquote, alienate a superstar, especially either of these superstars, I think you're setting yourself up for failure. And I personally believe if they give Kyrie this max in order to keep Kevin Durant, all this posturing you've just done goes out the window because Kyrie's going to be Kyrie. And so if you give him that deal expecting him to change who he is, you're setting yourself up for failure. But you also know who he is. So I will be curious to see how it goes. I think Kevin Durant has also noticed how they've handled Kyrie. And I can assure you he doesn't appreciate it probably as much. And we've seen, kind of his approach on how things have been unfolding. So for me, given that they've kind of taken this approach, I think it was short-sighted, and I don't know how it works. I think your headache gets significantly bigger if after all of this, you still give him the max. Because he's not going to – I would be shocked if he signed any kind of deal where he was at risk of losing money because of initiatives that he finds important. So if your question is, are you committed? And I say yes, but then you try and put stuff in my deal to hold me to it. I just don't think Kyrie's signing that. No. And I think that burns that bridge. So I think they'll try to re-sign him because otherwise you've just talk about a debacle of a franchise.
Yeah, you just don't want to let KD walk away either. You know what I mean?
Right.
You lose Kyrie, you lose KD, and now you got to bank on Ben Simmons now,
which is the worst situation you could probably possibly be in. Just for a quick update, Golden State just took the lead back, but Boston's defense has been really good. To Kenny's point,
especially in this quarter.
They have figured it out. Otto Porter's 3 of 3, so you'll definitely take that. But again, Golden State only up 1, so Boston's at minimum hanging in, but ultimately playing really well from a variety of different contributors. So that's just my 2 cents. I think you offer it. I think they might take it, but when they take it, like Kyrie gonna be Kyrie, and he's only getting older, and he's had a injury history, so expect that. And he's not getting vaccinated. Own that. Like, that is what it is. So
right.
If the mayor decides to change his mind, I know a friend of mine's, that's offensive foul, a friend of mine's in California said that they're starting to bring back masking mandates. So if we go down that route and we're back in the state of New York, then what are you going to do? So something to consider. And you clearly don't have as much weight as the Yankees and Mets. So I guess as long as baseball is going on, you're good. But come November, you might find yourself in a tough spot. So we do have to get to the losers of last round, specifically the Miami Heat. And I was on here, and I was asking, did Jimmy Butler die? And since we last reported, Jimmy Butler rose again. And I'm not going to say he died, but he made a question.
You're gonna start calling you Ray Bayless, boy.
Hey, all I can go is off what I see. All I can go is off what I see. And the man was playing like trash, and then he showed back up. So the question is, after the Game 6 win, which was phenomenal performance, did Miami choke Game 7 away? I'll start with you, Devin.
Nah, I don't think they choked it. I just think they ran out of gas. You know what I mean? Jimmy, he dropped that 41 and then he disappeared, and then, he tried to revive himself again, off of Draymond comments saying we're gonna be playing Boston in the finals. Jimmy got refueled again and they just ran out of gas. Bam, your man Bam didn't show up. Tyler Hero couldn't go after halftime. Miami bench didn't show up, and they just got outworked. And Boston was the better team. Boston was able to withstand all them haymakers that Miami was throwing on them at first. And once it takes a lot to swing and miss to actually swing and connect. And they were swinging and they was not connected on no hits. Like I said, Bam didn't.
Great defensive possession just now. I'm sorry, Bam.
Bam didn't want to show up or tried to show up, and then you wanted Kyle Lowry to try to bring some magic in, and it was just they just ran out of gas. Boston was a better team, in that game, in that series.
Just quick update. They're another record for 3.5 at 20 for both teams. Steph has 3 fouls, so that's why he hasn't been on the court here down the stretch. To your point with the Boston's defense. Again, we talked Jordan Poole. Right now, he's played 14 minutes, sitting at 2 points. Just not enough. Just not enough. Grant Williams, for what it's worth, hasn't done a ton. God dang, he shot the ball at the top of the back.
I wasn't going to say that, but
they got the on the boys in this quarter.
Steph with 0 in the second quarter after 21 in the first. So it's playing out. We'll see what happens come third quarter. It could be a huge quarter for the teams. Kenny, I'll go to you before I give my take on what you thought about Miami. You seem to agree with Devin.
Yeah, I just think they just didn't have enough. Like they just did not have enough to keep up with Boston. They just didn't have enough offensive talent. I think you had to. Anytime you got to count on Jimmy Butler to score 35 to 40 points in order for you to be, have a chance to win. That's a lot to ask of a guy to do night in and night out. So, and I just think that they were, compromised in terms of health. Kyle Lowry was banged up. Hero's banged up. Jimmy Butler's banged up. And they just didn't have enough. And then the other part is that I think defensively, because of how good and how flexible defensively Boston was, like they really, they weren't able to. Their shooters were not able to get those open looks. The Struces of the world and the Duncan Robinsons and those players of that nature, like they wasn't getting those open looks. Everything was contested. So that also made life difficult for Miami because that's when they're flowing offensively is when those guys are hitting those open looks off of the penetration from Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler. And so the fact that they weren't able to, they had to shoot so many contested shots, that just made it tougher for them to score. And, if they wasn't scoring in transition, then they was having a hard time scoring in the half court because, again, they just didn't have the offensive firepower to be able to withstand and to be able to keep up with Boston. So I think it was more so to Devin's, I agree with Devin that they more ran on the gas than they choked.
I agree.
I would say Ray be different, guys. Let's get ready. He was getting ready saying, "No, they show Bam didn't show up. Kyle Lowry's trash."
Well, those things are true typically. But no, I think we got what you get out of Bam. I don't think they had enough horses, which is why I picked Boston in the series. I do think there is a level of disappointment in that Miami Heat organization that they got to Game 7 and didn't get it done.
Oh yeah.
So I think
you seen on Udonis Haslam face, boy. He was mad he ain't get no buckets in that game.
See, wrong. And did you see Bam just rip his jersey apart walking out the? Did y'all see that?
Yeah.
He couldn't use that aggression during the series though.
See, man.
Like
this guy, man. It's a sniper.
There's no
He never
reason
missed
he
his
doesn't.
opportunity.
He should have been averaging almost 30 and 13 with Robert Williams in and out of that series. Like, you got to dominate when you're that guy, especially when internally you know something's wrong with Jimmy. Whether it was gas, whether it was his knee, whether it was a fight, whatever the situation was, you got to show up. Hero's not there. Lowry's trash. Like, you got to show up. And he just didn't do enough. And I think they come back next year, but I think it gets exponentially harder. I think there's questions around Oladipo's return, Hero's return. They talked about him being in the sign-and trade. He's come out and said, I should be a starter. I've earned it. So decisions going to have to be made. And Pat Riley don't typically take to those kind of comments. So I think we've seen the last of Tyler Hero in the Miami Heat jersey. It's just a matter of where and for who. So
everybody gonna bid for him. I think a lot of teams are bid for him.
Yeah, I think the value's there, and I think you maximize the value. It's just what fits with your team.
He just gonna have to prove it every night now. You know what I mean? He can't just coming off the bench, just going, 17 and 20. You're gonna have to average at least 20. You can't be what Gordon Hayward tried to do. No disrespect to him, but once he left Utah, everybody was like, "Oh, Gordon Hayward was." He wound up being hurt, and Gordon Hayward never got to that Utah status again.
I mean, I think the flip side to that is there's starting to become a trend of Tyler Hero in the playoffs. Like, he's had some good. I think he's been 4 years. He's had 2 really good years, 2 suspect years, but consistently in the playoffs, he has not been that guy, whether it be injury or whatever. So I think if you're talking starter money, you're talking max money, you got to start answering those questions. And so if I'm a team, do I want to build around a guy that has a questionable playoff track record? And it's still early. It's very early, but I haven't seen it. I needed at least give me 1 game.
You're going to develop. You're going to have to grow up. You're going to. I don't know who you kind of compare him to.
And he's really young too. He's 23, 24 years old. So
he's about the same age as Tatum and them.
Right, but that's the problem you run into is there's a lot of those young guys, whether it's Luka, whether it's Tatum, whether even if you want to go to Donovan Mitchell, there's a lot of those young guys that are figuring it out. So if you're saying I want to be that guy, not only do you got to be able to get you buckets, but I talked about Donovan Mitchell, you got to start getting other people buckets when you're that guy. And I haven't seen that from him. Granted, I don't think he had a bunch of dogs with him as far as offensive scores in Miami. But if you go somewhere and you're the guy, you're probably not going somewhere that's that great. So, because I don't see Tyler Hero as a 1, maybe a 2 on a championship team. So
I can see him as a.
Yeah, he's probably a 2 or a 3.
A 2 or 3, yeah.
I think best as a 3. I'm not sure if he's a 2 just yet because like Devin said, like you got to prove that you could do that as a starter. Like you're coming in off the bench, and in some cases, in a lot of cases, you're playing against second unit guys. Like you got to prove that you could do that as a starter against that first group.
Especially if you start seeing double teams and game plans.
Exactly.
I think that changes things for people. So that leads me to the finals. And we've talked about Grant Williams, Jordan Poole, the bench. And we've highlighted, obviously, Steph's start. But if you had to rank the top 5 most valuable players to their teams in this finals, who would you be? And I'll go ahead and start for me, just to maybe give you guys some time just for the context that I added. So when I think value, I think the most valuable player, whether he wins the award or not, is going to be Steph Curry. I think he makes Golden State run. I think his ability to shoot opens up the floor. He does have 3 fouls, and you saw how that played a role here in the second half, in the second quarter. They were up 4 with him going for 21. He scored 0, and now they're down 2. So I think that's evident. If he doesn't play well, I don't think they can win. The next player I'm going to go is Jason Tatum. I think Boston can win in spite of him because of their defense, but they can't win the series if he doesn't have a really good to great series. He's currently sitting at 8, but Jaylen Brown has 12, Marcus Smart has 10, Derek White has 8, Horford has 8, and Tatum has 8. So balanced really across the board. Tatum's currently shooting 2 of 9, and they're still up 2. So I think that's definitely something you want to hang your hat on. Next for me is Klay. I think Klay is a huge X factor because I don't think anybody knows what you're going to get game from game, maybe even shot to shot. But if he's going with Steph, like Steph's at 21, Klay's currently at 8. If Klay's at 15 with, maybe 4 of 7 versus 2 of 5, I think this looks a little different because of when he gets going, it just gets everyone else going. Fourth for me, I'm actually going to go Draymond just because of I think his intensity is going to be needed. Boston is gritty. Boston is tough. We've seen that. It looks to be affecting people like Jordan Poole. You're going to need somebody to match that physicality. Looney can, but he just does it quietly. So for me, I got 4th would be Draymond, and then 5th for me, he's actually going to be Marcus Smart. I think his value and what he offers defensively, whether it's on Klay, Poole, or Curry, is going to be more valuable than what Jaylen Brown might offer offensively. So I think those would be, I'd say, the top 5 for me in my order. I'll start with you, Kenny. Who do you have from a value standpoint, top 5?
Let's just play similar, but just a couple of changes. I'm with you in 1 and 2 with Steph and Jason Tatum, but at 3, I got Jaylen Brown. I think in order for the Celtics to win this series, he's got to be a 20. He's got to be a 20+ guy in order for them to win this series. So I think that he's the 3rd most important. I agree with you in terms of Draymond being 4 because I think that not only his intensity and his physicality, I think his rebounding as well as his defense, I think is going to be really important. I think there's going to be some times where he's going to have to guard Jason Tatum some, I think, in the 4th quarter. I think he's going to, have to guard Jaylen Brown some in the second half. He's going to have to take some turns and help those guys out with that. So I think that and then his playmaking ability as well is really important because Golden State, when his offense is humming, it's when he has the ball in his hands and they're moving and cutting and screening and everybody's a live weapon. He's the guy that's facilitating and getting guys open looks, whether it's via pass or via screen. So I think he's the 4th most important, and I agree with you in 5 with Marcus Smart. I just think that he's going to really be important in terms, not just defensively, but I think he's going to have to score as well. I think he's going to need to give them at least 15 points a night as well. Because again, in order to beat Golden State, you're not going to totally shut them down. That's just not possible. So you're going to have to score. You're going to have to make baskets in order to keep up with them. So I think he's going to be important, and they're going to have to really it's going to be a collective of pieces as opposed to just relying on Tatum and Jaylen Brown for them to win. They're going to have to get those contributions from the other guys in Boston. And I think the most important guy they got to get it from is Marcus Smart. So I got pretty much the same 5 except for a couple changes.
Okay, Dev.
I agree with y'all 1 and 2, Steph and Tatum. They're going to have to, pretty much lead their team at some point, and at some games, they can kind of hide depending on who's their second score or if their teams can get them balanced scoring. Third is Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown. If Jason Tatum give you another 10-point game, I don't think he will in the finals. But just in case just say he do give you a 10-point game, you're going to need Jaylen Brown to score 20 plus now. And lately, third quarter has been Jaylen Brown quarter. That's when he normally get his shots and get his scoring going. And if he can keep that consistently in the finals like he did in the other series, he most definitely got to be a big key factor. Number 4, I'm kind of going back and forth between Draymond and Andrew Wiggins. Because like I said, Wiggins is my X factor throughout, the whole series. Because, we just seen him grew into that all-star caliber. It's like now we expect that from him now. But we was like, well, we seen you at your peak now. We seen you at your game. It took you some years and it took you the right system to fit you, but now we've been waiting for this Andrew Wiggins for years, and you even kind of gave us a little sample of it. You got to keep it going. But then also, Draymond with his experience and his IQ of the game, this is going to keep the Warriors in the back end, protected and all that. So, they like my 4A and 4B, and then 5 is most definitely Marcus Smart. Just like how Draymond IQ with the game on defense, you're going to need Marcus Smart to be your voice in the back end and call out the screens and, call out what's going on, because without Marcus Smart intensity and his IQ, I think the Celtics, really would have been struggling on the defensive end without Marcus Smart.
Okay. Good talk. I think we can go either way with a couple of them, and we're seeing all of their value right now in this game, and I think that'll continue. On one end, I kind of want to see what happens when they stop shooting well, who can kind of maintain, but everybody's playing pretty well so far. Even if Tatum and Clay's percentages aren't great, their impact is still there for sure. And Marcus Smart, obviously, his ability on offense is just an added bonus when he's hitting threes. We've seen Game 7 how it can go the other way, but right now he's been really important also. With that being said, the talk always is legacy, whether it's top 75 this year. And I think according to the rankings, I heard reported Steph was like 16th. You're looking at a guy, the only unanimous MVP, 2-time MVP, no finals MVP, currently a 3-time champion, trying to accomplish his 4th, get his finals MVP. But there's been moments that haven't been the best. He did lose the 3-1 lead. He did lose to the Raptors after KD and Clay went down. So with a Steph Finals MVP in victory, you guys know how I feel about Magic, so I'll leave that alone for right now. Where do you guys feel that puts Steph in the hierarchy of NBA players? And I'll start with you, Devin.
Hierarchy of NBA players or point guards?
Let's do NBA players first, and then we definitely will get to the point guards.
Steph is up there, man. He's, I really can't place a number on him, but Steph he's up there because, like we talked about early in the show, Steph kind of changed the game a little bit. Steph, can have these guys thinking they Steph. Just like how everybody used to think they was Mike, back in the 90s. So Steph, I forgot where I was going at now.
Yes, the goodness of Steph just overwhelmed you, huh?
Yeah, man. It's just that it's just Steph can do it all because everybody just think he's just the greatest shooter, of all time. Steph can, he can get in the paint, when he kind of want to. Steph is not scared to get in the paint, even though with the bad ankle injuries and stuff like that. So yeah, that's where I pretty much have right now.
And as a point guard, he's top what to you? Assuming he wins the Finals MVP.
He's in the top 5, in my opinion.
That's it.
He ain't passing Magic. Cancel that.
He's in the top 5. I'm trying to think of I'm trying to get 5 point guards in me, 4 other point guards in my head. You got the Magic. You got Isaiah Thomas. You have. Do you count Joe Dumars as a point guard too?
No.
Really? He was more of like a shooting guard, right?
Stockton.
You got Stockton. And you still got my man CP3.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
Gary Payton.
You got Gary Payton. You know what I mean?
That's already ahead of all of them. Like, what are we doing? There's one.
I said he's in the top 5.
Yeah,
He ain't putting him. I'm not putting him at. I'm not putting him at Isaiah. Yeah. No.
How many championships Isaiah had? 2, 3?
No.
Based on what, Kenny?
Isaiah put fear in teams. I mean, I get Steph Curry is
I was about to say, you don't want to go down that path.
No, I'm saying in terms of like this dude literally when he took over games, like it was different for me, man. Like the way he just basically on one foot, basically put 25 on the Lakers in LA. Like you ain't never seen Steph do nothing close to that.
You ain't never seen Isaiah win a unanimous MVP either. That's a season award, not a game.
But we're talking about the finals. We're talking about the finals, though. Let's not act like the finals are not judged on a higher plateau.
You talking about he put up 25 on an ankle? Steph just put 21 in a quarter.
Yeah, fully healthy. This dude was on one leg,
and he did almost what Isaiah did in a game.
Well, I'm just saying, like you acting like the
best. Here you go. Here you go. Ray ain't giving it up.
Yeah, you bugging. You ain't never see nobody do that. You'll never see it again.
Oh my goodness. We got somebody that had ankle injuries their whole career. They don't even playing on bad ankles his whole career.
They don't even play. What are you talking about? This is the low management era where guys sit out with a hangnail.
Steph don't be sitting. Look at Steph facilitating the offense, getting Andrew Wiggins a wide open three.
What do you say? You say people be sitting out for hangnails?
Come on, man. What are you doing?
Coach, you see this? I got a hangnail, coach.
I need a night off. Yo, man, come on.
All right.
Stop,
so
man.
Clearly, well, I've heard what you had to say. I disagree with it, but I'll let you elaborate some more before I educate the people on where Steph should rank if he wins the finals and finals MVP. But Kenny, please proceed, since clearly he's not in your top 2, allegedly.
No, he's not. He would definitely elevate to in terms.
Is he in your top 3?
In my top 3, I got to think.
Is he making it? Because he in my top 2 now.
I got to think about it. Because that point guard position is something different. So we're gonna table that. But in terms of him being like all time, he definitely, to me, he would definitely. This is assuming that they win the series and he wins the finals MVP. You got to put him in the top 10. Like you said, two NBA MVPs, regular season MVPs. All-time leader in 3-point shots. Game changer in terms of how the game is played, and shooting the ball, all of that, et cetera, et cetera. I think you got to put him top 10. But if they lose this series, he now goes to he's now 500. Like he goes to 3-3. in the finals. So I think at the same time, while we want to crown him, if he does win, but if he loses, then he's gotta take a step back as well. So I think that this thing is going to it could vault him in two totally different directions, depends on how this thing plays out. But yeah, he'll be top 10 if he wins. In terms of that point guard, I'm reserving judgment, and I'm gonna wait and see on that because I got some more. I got to do some more studying. I got to do some more. I got to look at the numbers and things like that. But for me, because Magic and Isaiah are always going to be in a class by themselves, and the other part for Steph, and I'm gonna stop right here, is that Steph, to me, his ability to make other players better is more of a byproduct of the style of play as opposed to him actually making plays for his teammates, if that makes sense.
So you're saying the style of offense,
the style of
offense is the reason why.
I think his making plays for his teammates come as a result of the offense that they run in terms of the cuts, in terms of the things of that nature, as opposed to him getting in the lane and making a play and kicking to somebody and getting them an open look.
He is his ability to move and get shots is the offense, though.
But I think that comes, but it comes off of him coming off of screens and him coming off of pin downs and actions off the ball. To me, he doesn't make as many plays with the ball in his hands for his teammates. I think the plays that he makes with the ball in his hands is a byproduct of him coming off that screen, somebody helping, and then he hitting the guy off a cut. It's not him breaking his guy down and getting into the lane and then creating a shot for somebody else. I think there's a difference there.
Okay. I hear all that y'all saying. And
I'm gonna just go ahead and do it now. Just do it now.
It's cool. Al Horford with a big three in the corner to cut it back to 4. Third quarter Warriors are third quartering currently. Much of that is led by Steph here. And he misses the 3, but offensive rebound. Wiggins wide open.
Knock it down.
So I'll give y'all the Magic thing. I'm not gonna fight y'all on Magic. But there is not a single point guard that you should be making a case for besides Steph Curry at number 2 as a point guard. I don't care about Stockton and his no rings. I don't care about all the assists. I don't care about Oscar and his triple doubles.
How you don't care about Stockton, the all-time leader in assists? What are you talking?
Because I got an all-time 3-point shooter. I got a.
But it's point guard.
Listen, there's levels to this.
That's the biggest part of being a point guard is passing the ball.
What did they say in the and one? What did they say in the and one doc? Hot Sauce started playing NBA players. They started calling them ketchup. Okay. I ain't calling John Stockton ketchup when it comes to Steph Curry, but he ain't hot sauce. Like,
I'm gonna let you continue. Go ahead.
Gary Payton, his ability to shoot, his underrated ability to pass, his ability to rebound, like his revolution of the game, his ability to create for others. Like, we've all seen the clips where there's 4 people chasing Steph. And
you're making my point. That it's a byproduct of that offense in the attention.
No, it's a byproduct of him because you have to guard.
Those guys get the open look space
because you have to guard him from 34 feet away. They wasn't guarding Isaiah from that far away. Self-check if you want to shoot those threes. And again, I've never seen Magic play with anything but a bunch of Hall of Famers. So
we're not going.
Listen, I'll let you revere this guy that had the answers to all the tests, and then you surprised
you make it sound like Steph ain't playing with Hall of Famers too.
He's making them Hall of Famers.
Oh, stop it!
He's not Draymond. If Draymond doesn't play in Golden State with Steph, is he in the Hall of Fame conversation?
You're not making Clay. Not. He's not making Clay no Hall of Fame. Stop it. We're not doing that.
Yes, he is.
We're not doing that. So they're making the game easier for each other. Don't get it twisted.
Yes,
they're paying as much attention to Clay coming off the screen as they do to Steph Curry. Let's not do that.
Don't. We've talked about it tonight. Clay's been gone for 2 years.
We're talking about Clay in his prime. They was paying attention to Clay coming off screen just as much as they're paying attention to Steph. Don't do that.
Was Clay a top 75 player?
He should have been.
Whoa! Slow down there, Speedy.
You can make a case that he should have been.
I don't disagree with you, but he wasn't.
Okay.
Magic's teammates are stamped. And I don't have the numbers ahead of me to say how many top 75 players Magic played with, but it was more than Steph. We can agree on that. And that matters. So if Steph wins a fourth with finally getting the finals MVP, the only person worth talking about is Magic. And Magic's in the rear view as far as I'm concerned. Let's just leave it what it is.
Let me know when you're on the next topic.
So, for the basketball purists like yourself, you better hope, Draymond, where you going? Slow down, brother. For the basketball purists, y'all better hope Steph don't win this Finals MVP. And if he fool around and then averaging 35 a game,
Steph could get a bucket in Game 7 on the road with Kevin Love guarding him, but he overmatched. Man.
I hear you. He had a bad series. Let's not act like Magic hasn't had some bad series in the finals. There was a tragic Johnson headline for a reason. Was there not?
Agreed.
Okay, so
my point is, we talking about Game 7 at home with Kevin Love, who supposedly couldn't guard you and me. You one-on-one on the perimeter, and all you can get is a contested three. We're not gonna just brush that to the side like that didn't just happen.
And I'm not excusing it. What I'm also telling you is Steph was still averaging 25. Steph has a higher finals average than Kobe.
Understood.
So,
but he's had some moments where he's come up short. That's all I'm saying.
As has everyone.
He's in the rear view.
Kobe got an MVP finals.
He did. And Steph, now that he's not playing with Durant, might get one too.
Kobe got 2 of them too.
And so did Magic, his rookie year. Go ahead.
He was also playing with the greatest scorer of all time. That helps.
Yeah, and game 6 when he was out, who scored 42, 15, and 7?
He had a great game. He had a great game.
To win the game.
Great game.
To win the series.
But when you're able to rest all
you know Kenny a Magic fan. He just threw out them stats. He ain't even look it up.
Don't play with me.
It sounds Jimmy Butler-esque. You take a couple games off when the Cats are there.
See, now he just really being disrespectful.
I mean,
you gotta stop.
If you could rest up for 5 games, you might get 40 in Game 6 when he's out. Steph doesn't have that luxury. But that's it for me. Like I think some of the Steph hype this week has been a bit overblown. It's a little nauseating and exasperating for me. Like all this praise of already being heaped. And I thought that's why they would come out slow, specifically him. I thought he would come out and try too hard and would shoot poorly, but I was wrong. But I still believe that, he's that dude. And when we really look at the context, we got to put some more respect on his name in the point guard conversation, regardless of what he looks like. So yeah, appreciate y'all. I know one of these days, maybe in 3 years, because Steph is only 33, something like that. So
yeah, about my age. So
with his ability to shoot and where he will be in the record books, it might be laughable that we're even having this conversation in a couple years. But it remains to be seen. You guys can hold on to your dinosaurs of the past while there's a Jurassic Park commercial playing.
See, that's y'all youngins, man. Y'all always jump out the window with the disrespect. But go ahead.
I don't. I'm typically pretty reserved until you get one of these generational talents. Like what we're seeing and have seen is just one of a kind, one of one. Speaking of one of a kind, we had a fight this weekend, and we had a one of a kind of knockout. I told somebody, I think I was at my spot, and I told them somebody's going to get dropped in the first 6 rounds. And right on cue, one person got dropped, and they didn't get up. I will say I did not like the stoppage because there was 20 seconds left in the round. It's too big of a fight. It's too big of a fight to not give him a chance. Now, if he get up and he get knocked down 5 seconds later, all right, wave it off. I've watched the video countless times. He asked for his gloves. Rolly's trying to give him his gloves. And I'm talking about Javonte Davis and Rolly Romero, for those of you who may not know. He's trying to give him his glove, but he's also asking him to step. He steps. He tries to give him his gloves. There was enough for me in a fight of that magnitude with that much trash talk. One, let Davis beat on him a little bit because of all the trash talk. And two, let him try and defend the trash talk because they was both throwing shots after round 1. And he showed he could have hit Davis. And Davis even said at the end, like, I wasn't shocked by his power, but he got power. So I don't think there was any surprise there. I was really turned off by him not staying and doing the interview. And then the initial report saying he wants a rematch, all that. I didn't like that. Stand there, take the punishment, just like you talked all up into the fight. You can stay there and take it. You know how boxing, they drag out after the fight's over. Anyway, he had time to collect himself. Stop being a clown. And I think Floyd and the rest of them have gotten to him, and we've seen some more measured comments come out since. But that was Bush League. That was trash. You got to be better than that as a professional. But Davis got it done in dramatic fashion, set records as far as money. He's box office. Ryan Garcia should be on notice. I think that's the fight that makes the most sense from a money standpoint, from a beef standpoint. Davis seems to maybe walked back his leaving Mayweather Promotions. So that partnership may continue. Floyd was noticeably absent from the fight, which I was curious to know how that would go. Leonard Ellerby did appear to be more so on the Davis side, at least in pictures and video. But I was entertained. I was glad I watched it. Golden State is now up 11, 7-0 run. Third quarter Golden State doing what third quarter Golden State does. A lot of that led by arguably the greatest point guard of all time, Steph Curry. But
greatest shooter of all time, not the greatest point guard. But continue.
Don't diminish that man. Just like Davis is more than just a puncher, Steph's more than just a shooter. But takeaways, your thoughts, Dev. You were pretty resolute in your thoughts. Wow, what a block by Looney. And what you thought would happen. I think you were right. So tell us. Your
I felt it. I was like, man, he's gonna get dropped in 6 because that was gonna give Davis enough time to figure him out. Shorty talked all that trash, and he got dropped like some trash. You know what I mean? He looked just like Martin. He looked like that episode of when Martin got beat by Tommy Hitman Hearns, man. But I just knew it. I just think that was too early of a fight for Rolly, number one. For him only having 15 wins, I think it was a little bit too early. I think he should have took maybe 2 more fights before he might have fought Tank. But he did all that talk, and look what it got. Like I was comparing, I was like, see, he remind me of Adrian Broner a little bit. Got all the talk. He can get you to watch the show, But you know what I mean? When it's time for him to perform, you be like,
Sure.
God dang, dog. Like, where was you at, man? You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that Rolly is going to be like an Adrian Broner. You know what I mean?
Please.
Maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe he can back his talk up against somebody else, other than Davis. I'm not going to particularly look for this rematch. I hope they don't do this rematch. I just think that's Davis is they are two different boxes, and I think Davis is in a different league now. I think Davis is in that big money, big pay per view match, and I don't think Rolly fits in that scheme no more. I think he's gonna have to dominate some more fights, at least 3 more fights for him to ask for a rematch.
I have some pushback on that, but I'll go to Kenny. Kenny, your thoughts on the fight?
Yeah, I just think that, like, I'm with you in terms of I was really down on Rolly for leaving, for not facing the music, for not, because he could have sat there and got his head together. Yeah, man, you could have sat on his stool and got the cobwebs out. So I'm not buying that. Like, so just miss me with all of that. But I just think, the biggest thing was that we saw the patience of Tank Davis. We saw him measure. We saw him measure. We saw him tactical. We saw him just really, picking his shots. And just that counter was just the perfect counter. He leaned into it, and it was the perfect shot at the perfect time. And he just put him to sleep. I will say I do agree with Ray in terms of the stoppage. I thought that while he was wobbly, I thought that he had showed enough to where that he could keep a close eye on him and let him continue. So because he did show his hands, he did move to the side. I'm not saying that he was totally there, but I think he was enough to where he could at least give him a chance to continue. So I thought the stoppage was a little quick. I'm with Ray on that, but my overall was I was super impressed with Tank. I was super impressed with his patience. I was super impressed with how tactical he was in this fight, and you could just see that he was waiting for his opportunities, and he's picked his spots to counter, and he landed the ultimate counter. So I'm with you also in terms of I want to see Tank. Now it's time. It's time for this Ryan Garcia to happen. We'll wait to see what happens with Devin Haney and
Kambosos.
And maybe that's another avenue that he could look at. Of course, Lomachenko's of the world are out there as well. I don't think that's as big of a fight anymore, but there's definitely some big names. But I want to definitely see. I definitely want to see Tank against another big name like a Garcia, that type of fight. So I think that's what's going to. I think if going forward, I think that's what's going to be. If I'm Tank Davis, I think that's going to be one of his requirements. If he's going to continue to do business with Mayweather Promotions, like we got to get these big fights happening. Now we built it up. I'm a pay-per-view star. I'm a draw. I've been selling out all over the country. Now it's time for me to get that mega fight, and it's time for me to really get that bag. So I think that's what is going to be the key to these negotiations of them moving forward and doing business. So that's my biggest takeaway from it.
No, I definitely agree with the business part. I think what this fight proved to Floyd and others is Tank's ready. People didn't really give him as much credit as I think he deserved for knocking out Leo Santa Cruz, who I thought was a good fighter. He went up and beat Barrios, knocked Barrios out. And I think this proved he can punch with a puncher. He can take a punch. And I think because of the knockout, for me, and I could be biased or partial because I was a Rolly fan, I like that brash bravado, especially in combat sports. I think people are overlooking. If you look at the cards, they were close. It was a close fight. People are talking as if Tank walked over him. Rolly was just not in the same.
I ain't make it seem like he walked over him, but we just seen a different class of Tank now. We ain't see this Tank trying to knock him out like he maybe like 4 or 5 fights ago where Tank was looking for these knockouts. We just seen now that Tank is a different boxer where Rolly, if Rolly would have fought Tank maybe 4 years ago or 3 years ago, it probably would have been almost an even type fight. But now that we've seen that Tank can actually dance a little bit in the ring, it's like, whoa, that's kind of scary now that he can dance and he still got his power with him. He's in kind of a different class than Rolly right now. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm not saying that this one loss is Rolly into his career. I seen some things that I seen that he ain't scared, you know what I mean, of nobody. He was walking up the Tank, was like, look, dog, I'm here, you know what I mean? You're gonna eat some of these shots. I was like, wow, he got heart. He just gotta find a way, he gotta learn the dancing skill now. Once he learned how to dance and maybe, stop leaning so much to his punches, you know what I mean? Rolly can be one of the top fighters, in the next couple of years. I'm not saying he's washed. I'm just saying that he's just gonna have to learn some more techniques before he takes some more big fights like that.
I think my biggest takeaway is he throws too many wide punches. You can't throw punches that wide versus a fighter that good. I think that was the biggest issue, but I think his confidence. I will be curious to see in this next fight his confidence, even leading up. Is he as brash of a talker? Because if
he was talking like he was winning the fight in the post game. So I don't think that's changing.
I hear you, but I believe he will get another big fight. I can see him fighting the loser of the Kambosos Haney fight potentially. I think he showed that he can be in that group. The Lomachenko, the Lopez, that group or tier, I think is where he should stay. I still think Tank was too big of a jump, but I think he showed he can fight on that level if he makes adjustments. So if I'm Floyd, I think I walk out of there feeling great. You might have the two biggest superstars in the division potentially going forward if you can manage them properly. So I was impressed by both fighters. Obviously, the knockout that's gonna live forever. That's probably gonna be on a picture frame in the wall in Barclays for the foreseeable future. The memes and all of that. So I think Rolly's gonna have to grow up quick. I do like what I'm seeing come out now more than then, but he gonna have to atone for that leaving early. That's just real trash behavior. But no, I was impressed. I was happy. I will be. Hopefully, neither takes too much time off. I think Kambosos fights either this week or the next. I know Steph Fulton fights this weekend. I thought Kambosos did too, but I know both of those fights are coming.
That's this weekend, I believe. I'm pretty sure. I'm about to double check.
I
That's
thought
this
so
weekend
too.
on ESPN. Yeah.
So that's two big fights. I'm a Steph Fulton fan, a Stephen Fulton fan. And then, we'll kind of see. It was announced today, Dev, since you brought him up, Adrian Broner will be fighting Omar Figueroa Jr. on July 23rd.
You said when?
July 23rd. So
no, are you serious?
Yeah. Broner posted the picture, and we got ourselves a fight, gentlemen. Boston is fighting back. They've got it back down to 11.
I won't be watching. I'm done with Adrian Broner.
I got one more fight with him. I gotta. If he don't change, if this fight is still the same, this is gonna be my last one. If he don't change it, if he haven't changed his style yet.
What you said the 20? Is it what is it gonna be on?
I believe he's still a Showtime fighter. So I'm guessing it's Showtime. I'm trying to read.
Is he a pay-per-view?
It can't be.
It'll be in a PBC main event on July 23rd. So it might just be on some money. They signed him to a deal. He has a Showtime deal.
He got to own some money.
So
I'm looking now. I don't see it.
I mean, for me, And I'm definitely with y'all on the Broner stuff, man. Like I wanted AB to be good.
Me
I
too,
did.
man. And he had
He had
what
he
frustrates
had
me
the
about him is
skills.
that's what frustrates me about him. He had the skills, he had the power, he just did not have the discipline.
No, and what it is that partying and that
That's what I'm
alcohol.
saying. He didn't have the discipline to, pay the price to be a great, and he had the skill set to be able to be a really great fighter. He just didn't have the discipline.
Just quick update: Golden State up 12 going into the fourth. So that third quarter we talked about to start the show.
They always do.
It reared its head, and the defense. We kept talking about Boston's defense. Golden State's defense in that third quarter was next level.
It was very good.
So definitely something to see. Still hanging in there. I said Boston. So Boston. I don't think I said I got Boston in 7. I got Boston in 7. I definitely think they got to win one of these first 2 because they're not great at home.
But so hold up. We're not gonna just squeeze past that. After this man just
You heard
Steph Curry as the second best point guard of all time, you got him losing Game 7 at home again. Okay.
He can score 40 and not get no help.
Okay.
Like I'm just telling you what I see.
Okay.
Clay's at 10 right now, going into the 4th.
Okay.
Jordan Poole's at 9, going into the 4th.
Okay.
Draymond's 1 of 10, going into the 4th. Like this could happen in Game 7, and Steph give you 30, and it not be enough. So I could be wrong, but to me, that there's no indication that him. For me, I don't think Steph has much to lose. I don't think if he loses, he can't. You said he would drop. He still got the MVPs and championships. So I can't see him dropping.
But you 500 in the finals.
But who does he drop below?
But I'm just saying, like you have to take a hit for being 500 in the finals, and especially on this is probably going to be the third. This is going to be the third one, and probably in all of those he was favored to win. Was it not?
I mean the Toronto series, yeah, he lost.
I mean, I'll give you that one. So 2 out of the 3. So if he loses this one, this will be 2 out of the 3 where he was favored to win. And one of those, it was a 3-1. He gave up a 3-1 lead and lost Game 7 at home.
He did. And if
this happens the way you said, this would be 2 Game 7s you lost at home. Like you cannot not take a hit for that.
I just don't see how you drop him below who. He's not going to fall below Stockton now. Like he's not going to fall below Jason Kidd or Chris Paul or any of those other guys. So that's my thing. Like I don't see how I would knock him in such a point. I think.
No, I'm talking all time. I was talking all time.
So he's not. Is he below Durant then all time if he loses here?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if we're saying that Kevin Durant is top 10 yet. I think he still has some more work to do.
I mean, I don't think Steph's top 10 yet, but I think Steph is the second greatest player of his generation, of his era.
Okay.
And so if he loses this, I still don't see him dropping below KD. Maybe,
but I guess
historically Giannis could pass him if Giannis keeps playing at the level he's playing. But I just don't see how this long now, and especially if he's playing like this. Now, granted, he only has 3 assists, but nobody in the Kevon Looney's leading the team in assists at 5. So
again, there we go.
Just for
that coaching style sounds good, don't it?
Anybody can get assists in that offense, apparently, huh?
Not a ton, and only one person got 30. So take for what you want. I will say it is interesting to me. Kuminga, Lee, Peyton, and Moody, who all played big roles last series, have not played today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, it's not their time yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not. Yeah, well, it's not their time yet.
I hear you.
It might be their time if Boston give you another third quarter and this fourth quarter.
Man,
I'm with you. I get concerned with long term the buy-in. like mentally, these young players, one, they got to stay ready, and two, like
You got to buy in the system.
you might feel away.
But
get you
also
here.
the other part is too. I'm sorry, is
Go ahead.
that you got to think about that. This is the team that you see this year. You may not see the same team next year. They're going to have to make some decisions. So there could be some things that's going to happen. So it may not necessarily be a buy-in necessary because you may, you're going to see some guys that are here this year that are not going to be here next year.
I mean, I think most of them are still in rookie deals. So I think
no, but I mean, like you're going to have to make some decisions in terms of how you're going to, keep this roster going forward. You got the
right.
money.
Do you trade? Because someone might get traded next year.
That's what I'm saying. You got the money Klay Thompson. You got to think about whether or not you're going to keep that on your books because you got to eventually pay Jaylen Brown. So it's going to be some moving pieces.
And Tatum at 3 of 16, like he struggle. Which he gonna have to deal with this kind of criticism because he ain't had it on this level yet. So I think he'll bounce back either way. Iggy, what are you shooting a fadeaway? That's not your game. It's a terrible shot.
6 foot.
He just happy to be back, man. Let him live, man. He trying to get that NBA Finals again. He trying to get the MVP again.
You got a 6 foot on you. You should turn around.
That's how you let Boston back in this game. As bad as Tatum shooting, you shooting fallaways. Right now, Brown and Tatum are combined 2 of 12 from 3. But they're only down 10. So still a lot of time left.
Make that 7.
Make it 7. Big shot. Brown's hit 2 big shots here in the fourth quarter. So I didn't have him in my top 5 for value, but maybe he's proven me to be wrong. So we'll see kind of what comes of it. We have hit the 11 o'clock hour. Been a great game. Another Warriors turnover. Jordan Poole is awful tonight. But yeah, man, we will definitely be catching up. I think there is 2 games off between game 2. So they will be back on Sunday.
We'll react on Monday to game 2 for sure.
And so here's an example. So say this was game 7. Steph had him up 12 going into the 4th. The lead's now 5.
3.
Is it 3?
Yep. It just hit an alley-oop to Williams. Timeout.
I had 87-92, but say it's down 3. He's not on the court. So if they lose this game with his first quarter, with his third quarter, how's this a knock on him?
Well, if you're a great player, aren't you supposed to lift the other players around you?
I can't lift them when I'm on the bench.
I'm just saying, like, aren't you supposed to make the players around you better?
I mean, everyone, it's the bench, really. All the starters are plus. Thompson, as bad as he's played, plus 11. Draymond is plus 12. But Porter and Poole are both minus 10. Iggy's minus 5. And I just really question the strategy of giving Iggy this much time. Coming off the injury, not going to Kuminga or Peyton or Moody, I don't like it. I don't like it. And if Jordan's not playing well, get him out of there. But we'll see. Porter, even though he's minus 10, he's played well in his minutes. But we got ourselves a ball game, so I'll leave you guys and the audience to enjoy it. Get caught up live if you have live TV. If not, you're streaming it. It's relatively close. So, fellas, it's always a pleasure talking with you. And by next game, we'll have a good indication of what this series looks like, whether it's 2-0 either way or 1-1 headed to Boston. I think we'll have a good indication of what the series should look like. And we'll have a lot to talk about coming out of this weekend, a couple big fights that we discussed. So, as always, it's been a pleasure, gentlemen. Enjoy yourselves. Have an enjoyable weekend, and we will see you at Monday at 9. Take care.
Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays.